Box to Box. It's time for our podcast.
It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. What?
You're listening to the Pit Wall Girls podcast hosted by Darlene and Adriana. Hi. We're live for a super exciting episode. I knew that this episode was going to be exciting after Saturday's qualifying. And then we had the Sunday race, the 2023 British Grand Prix.
Tell them what happened.
Oh my God. Well, you know when I'm this excited, it has something to do with Lando. So I didn't meet him. I mean, this time I didn't get to see him this time IRL, but I did see him on my screen and I saw him on the podium. Guys, I was so excited.
His home Grand Prix.
His
home Grand Prix.
Yeah, so
I think that's super notable.
Yeah, so let's take it back. We let you guys know that McLaren had some upgrades to bring to their car, and they were already starting to show in the Austria race where Lando did pretty well. And their upgrades were getting put on both Oscar and Lando's cars over the course of, I believe, 3 races. So the upgrades came through because McLaren qualified.
To quote Lewis Hamilton, it's a rocket ship.
It's a rocket ship. You know, I saw somebody say that's Lewis' favorite line when somebody beats him.
Fast. Yeah, when someone's fast or like he can't overtake them, he always uses rocket ship.
I love it.
He's done that before, for sure.
But yes, so it was so exciting to see McLaren qualify P2 and P3. If you think back to where they were in Barcelona, like I was a little scared. Yeah, it was looking rough for the Papaya team, but
Here they are.
They did the work.
And I can't wait to see how they do in the next race. Like, if it's consistent, because I think that's important.
Yeah, they said some tracks were really going to suit their car and other tracks are going to
not. Like every car.
Yeah. So, the race was on Sunday, obviously. The podium was, of course, Max won, P1. Lando kept his position. He came in at P2 in his home Grand Prix, and then we had another Brit, Lewis Hamilton, P3, which I don't know how he managed to do that.
I don't know how he managed to do that either, but like so impressive.
Yeah.
And a quick fact, this was the first time that 2 British drivers were on the podium at Silverstone since 1999.
Ooh, I love that stat. And another stat, Red Bull hadn't won in Silverstone since 2012. Yeah, that was the stat.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I feel like it wasn't as exciting as like past or like more recent Silverstone races. But it was still great. Like I was literally screaming at the TV for Lando when he led at the beginning of the race for like 4 or 5 laps, which we'll take it. We'll take it.
That's so good. Yeah. So other things that you can look forward to in this episode is that our boy, Daniel Ricciardo, is officially back on the grid, but we're going to save all of that for later. First, we're going to jump into the race. So Adriana will be filling me in because when I saw Lando at Lights Out and Away We Go lead from Max Verstappen, I completely just lost it. And honestly, I only focused on his race. I had no idea what was going on with Ferrari or anybody else. Really, I was just on the McLaren race because Oscar had a tremendous race. He came in at P4, which, you know,
so impressive. Yeah.
In our books, we have to start looking at these things as Lando got P1, Hamilton got P2, and Oscar got P3 because Max just doesn't count anymore.
I know. At this point, it doesn't even matter. And there was also another fact that Max had never won. He had won at Silverstone, but I think it was for some sort of special race in 2020. It was like for an inaugural kind of race, but it wasn't a part of the season, I don't believe.
I see, yeah. I think he finally got to scratch it off as a
an actual Grand Prix win, which I was just like slightly bothered. I didn't want him to get another, like, you know, meet another goal.
I want him to win all the races.
As mean as that sounds, but like I just didn't want him to reach another goal. But you know, he's great. Like we can't even
honestly. I think that we need to let him get all these like goals and milestones because then he's just gonna leave the sport. And not that I would not want, guys. I am a Max fan. Like,
yeah, I don't mind Max.
I actually really like Max. Like I think I would put him in my top 5 drivers.
I can't say that.
I love
but
Max.
I do think like when there's one driver winning, it just like misses the excitement. Like it's just predictable.
Yeah.
But I guess this happens every now and then when there's just like a super star car and then a superstar driver, and they just dominate. And
He's
so
in a
he's in
league
that
of his
era.
own. Yeah.
I can't say that I can speak to every team, but what I do know is Ferrari started way more ahead than where they ended. And that's just common at this point. I think the issue was tire strategy, which, has happened so many times now, but and I think like timing of pitting, and like they pitted right before the safety car came out. I think it was Carlos maybe. And so like it just wasn't, they just didn't have the timing down this race. There was also an incident with Pierre Gasly where I think
Carlos.
he pushed him. Yeah, Carlos and Pierre Gasly, where he pushed him wide, I believe. Carlos didn't get a penalty, which I think is...
They weren't that strict with penalties this race.
last race.
Yeah.
They were with track limits, though, and that's been a thing.
I was so nervous when Lando got a black and white flag and there was like still 3 laps left.
They were, like, the last 2 races have been very strict with track limits. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I don't know why.
As it should be.
Well, yeah, as it should be, but, like, why is it that that
like,
doesn't happen more often,
I guess it depends who the stewards are, because they're not always the same ones, I think.
Or, like, the track, maybe.
Track specific.
Yeah. But, yeah, there was an incident with Carlos and Pierre where he pushed him wide.
It became a whole thing.
Pierre has posted about it, apparently. And at the press conference after the race, Pierre, like, kind of pushed Carlos while he's literally in the middle of an interview and was like, "You don't push me like that, Carlos." And then Carlos just, like, kind of laughed and was like, "Oh, poor thing."
I think the interviewer asked him what did he say, and he was like, "Oh, nothing."
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen the full interview.
I was in another language.
Clip. Yeah, I've only seen that clip, but apparently it was heated. And they're buddies, no? Like, they're friends.
Yeah.
They've hung out. Don't you remember them on the boat in Miami? Last year? They were on the boat in Miami.
Everybody ends up on a boat in Miami together.
Like, it was only him and Carlos, I feel.
Probably Lando too. They don't go anywhere without each other. And then Charles. And then Yuki probably was there also.
Yuki.
Okay. Other major things that happened in the race: full blown safety cars.
I think just one.
Well, it was like a virtual, and then it turned into the safety car, and it was because of the Haas.
Kevin Magnussen's Haas did stop, which it happened in qualifying as well. He just did not have a good weekend, so that's what caused the safety car. And then that's like when all of the orders kind of got shifted, because it was like the safety car happened in that time of the race where like a lot of cars were starting to pit. So that's where like some cars were lucky and some cars were not.
There was also a double DNF with Alpine.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll was caught up in some commotion.
With Pierre Gasly.
Yeah. I think that's kind of probably what ruined Pierre's race, because he was getting kind of bumped and shoved quite a bit.
I've noticed that a bit with Lance. Have you not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's kind of like that. Like, he like touches the car with his car.
Yeah.
Too often, in my opinion.
He's not afraid to get up close and personal.
No. He should have gotten penalized for that, in my opinion.
Well, overall, I thought it was a great race. There was a point where the group chat was saying, I need a little spice to happen. And of course, we always want a little spice, like some sort of safety car or yellow flag, red flag, anything like that. It just makes it more interesting, and it really could help or hurt your team depending on their strategy. But yeah, so epic to see McLaren doing well. And my cheeks hurt. I was smiling so hard the entire day.
I was very happy about it too.
Yeah. Seeing all the content. Zach Brown was in such a good mood. All of Lando's family was there. Mm-hmm. On the TV, they said those are Oscar Piastri's grandparents. But they were really Lando's grandparents, because they had, like, I was following somebody who
and McLaren is a British team.
Yeah. It was,
so even, like, better.
Yeah. There was quite a bit of wags there, but they weren't, like, in the action. I don't know if my wag pages weren't populating.
Yeah.
I saw no fits.
Nope, no fits. Maybe Carmen.
There is something that I want to talk about. So this is going to be a long episode, so we'll save the bulk of this for a future episode. But I think that we need to do a deep dive on Martin Brundle. We spoke about him.
Oh, with Kara?
Yeah, we spoke about him. We spoke about him in our last episode.
He's so funny. Like, what a character of a man he is.
Yeah. You know he's a racing driver. He's not he's not just like a commentator or an interviewer. Martin Brundle is a superstar. So maybe that's why he's so funny interviewing, because that's not his profession.
He's just like literally racing around on the track. Like, he's always going 100 miles per hour, walking around with his like little microphone, and he's always like talking to himself as he sees you. He's like, oh, I think I spot Christian Horner over there in this crowd.
He said there were some like prime ministers or something. He's like, let me see if I could find you a prime minister. But
it's so funny.
I saw this live as it was happening on TV, and like I tried to record it because I was like, this is gonna turn into something. So he sees Cara Delevingne and he wants to go interview her, but I guess she was there with Alfa Romeo was sponsoring her, or she was there with the team that weekend. And I did see a representative of the team tell Martin, like, no, and he goes, the rule is everybody has to talk. So then he tries to talk to Cara, and she's basically like, no, and he's saying again.
I think I heard she said, like, oh, I can't hear.
She did say that. So looking at both sides of the story, she did nothing wrong. And since it turned into such a thing, and I guess that Martin kind of had a sassy response.
He did have a sassy response.
He's like, would have been interesting to hear what she had to say. Something like that.
Like, so sarcastic, like, not really that it would have been interesting.
Yeah. But it was funny because right before that, he saw Max Verstappen. He goes, I don't know if we'll be able to get a word. But Max stopped and got interviewed by him. So the fact that Max stopped and was interviewed, and then Kara said no. But honestly, like, if I'm invited and a team tells me to behave a certain way, I am going to be the model student of how to behave. So if they tell me don't talk to anybody, I'm not going to talk to anybody.
Yeah, maybe was she told that?
Like, yeah, that's what she was told. And the rep was there with her, and I guess they weren't allowing interviews for some reason.
Yeah, so it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
But, like, I think he was interviewing some other celebrities on the track. So, like, I guess it was perceived that way. But yeah. Sorry, Kara.
Yeah. So Silverstone weekend, which meant that Brad Pitt was filming his movie. I'm not entirely sure, like, how that happened.
Yeah, I can't gauge, like, how that happened. I feel like they were on the track, like, at the back.
That's what I heard, but, like, how back? It's only, like, a minute and a half.
Maybe we'll do some sort of, like, CGI editing to not make it look that way. Mm-hmm. And you can, like, film all the commotion and stuff around. Like, they have that. And it's crazy because it's, like, one take, you know? It's only going to happen then. And they also got them, I don't know when that happened, but, like, these pictures came out of Brad Pitt and, what's the actor's name?
I don't know.
We'll have to find out and tell you guys next time. But
Damien something.
Okay. They were, like, walking. They look like movie stars in these pictures. And Carlos is in the background. I think you can see. Yeah, you can see Esteban in the back with his hat. And, like, Carlos looks like a model. A model. He belongs in the movie.
Can we talk about how Carlos took it upon himself to, and I quote, welcoming the 11th team to F1?
Yeah, because he made it in the movie. No, get the one of them strutting.
Strut, people on video.
So good.
I love the quote that Toto gave, like, that F1 is absolutely not made for an 11 team, that they could accommodate the Hollywood people at Silverstone, but they can't do it for an IRL.
Oh, for real, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the jab would have to be longer, but, like, isn't that in talks with Audi?
No, Audi is going to become a team regardless because they're taking over Alfa Romeo.
Oh, got it.
Yes, Audi is a team regardless in 2026. It's the team Andretti who's bidding for an 11th team, which would be Andretti Cadillac.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, because who else would Audi be going for? It's Alpha that they're replacing.
Got it.
Oh, God, so much is going on.
You know what I was thinking? How we're getting sidetracks again, but how Silverstone won, like, best race or most exciting race last year. Like, I'm excited to like. I feel like there hasn't been a race that's like had that title yet this year.
I mean, there's still quite a few races left. I'm trying to think what.
But like so far, what we've seen, there hasn't been anything like that crazy, right?
Because there hasn't been any crashes.
No, but even that race was insane. Like,
which one?
Besides the crash of Silverstone.
Yeah, there was a lot of action.
Mm-hmm. So I can't think of a race this year that was that like Austria was good.
What are we on race 9 going into race 10?
I think so. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, how Silverstone was the most exciting race last year.
We are on a sidetrack topic. F1 fans, people listening, you guys are always asking me where I'm getting this content from, like the drivers on board and extra interviews. You get that on F1 TV. It's about $80 or $90 a year, and it is the best investment you can ever make. You get to, while the race is live, you get to pick any driver you want and like ride with them throughout the race, and you're listening to their team radio, and then you'll always have access to the post-quali, post-race interviews on there. So on one of the post-quali interviews, Max was obviously there because he got pole position, and he had crashed coming out of his garage, I believe in Q3, and then nobody even asked Max like what happened. He kicked off the interview and he goes, I had an incident. And like
he said it with a little smirk too.
Yeah, and then he was like, he couldn't get his thoughts together because he was smirking at his own joke that he had made, because he knew it was obviously the Charles Leclerc of it all.
Charles Leclerc meme here.
I love it when Max is funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Okay, one more thing I have to say about that. So for the post-conference interview of the post-race conference interview, it was Max and Lewis, and Lando was supposed to be there too, but I guess they were celebrating, so Lando got there late, and it just reminded me of like, when you're invited to a dinner but the friend in common is late and you're just like awkwardly sitting there. That's how it was. It was just like Max and Lewis trying to be cordial with each other, and then finally when Lando walks in, Lewis was like, thank you for joining us, or like, nice of you to join us.
I love it.
And like the whole vibe changed.
I'm sorry, we're gonna get for the third time sidetracked, but I really need another like group dinner. I need it. That like fueled me over the break.
The Last Supper. We need
Those
a Last
fabulous. Supper. Those are fabulous.
Is nobody gonna do a Last Supper for Nick Debris?
Oh no.
So you might have heard us say, obviously, if you are now like 15 minutes into this episode, that Daniel Ricciardo is back on the grid for 2023, effective immediately. He will be racing in Hungary.
That's literally 2 weekends away.
Just this one, and then it's it. Yeah, I guess whatever.
Yeah, 2 weekends away. Nick was booted from Alpha Tauri, and Daniel taking his seat.
Insane.
Crazy. Like mid-season. I mean,
this isn't even mid-season. It's less than mid-season.
And I mean, this is Red Bull. I mean, I know it's Alpha Tauri, but like whatever the relation, they're notorious for that. Can't forget when Pierre Gasly was kicked out.
Alex Albon.
And Albon replaced him.
Daniel Kvyat,
like they are ruthless over there.
Mm-hmm. They have a reputation to upkeep. So we have a paper agenda today because there's so much to this. So one, I feel extremely horrible for Nick, and this doesn't compare to what happened last year with Daniel. That was very painful as a fan. But again, because I was a fan of Daniel, this is just completely like ruthless. One, Nick is a rookie and he is in the worst car on the grid. I didn't even think he was doing horrible. Yeah, he was doing bad and he's the last driver, but someone has to be the last driver. I think that there's a Red Bull program for a reason. They should nurture their drivers, but I guess Red Bull's fine with having that reputation. So for any future drivers going to Red Bull, I think that this is always going to be something in the back of their mind. If they're not performing, they're out.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't perform, then like at Red Bull, then you're kind of like screwing your career within F1.
Yeah, because I cannot see any other team picking up Nick because
Right.
they just kind of made him seem like he was leftover or like trash. One, AlphaTauri hasn't even done a formal post for Nick, like saying thank you for these 9 races and absolutely nothing. Like, they still do so much for the teams. They work on the simulators, they give them data. I'm sure that
You said it, like they do the modeling and the advertising.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot. It's not just like the driving.
Yeah, so we are very sad for Nick, and I mean, there's nothing that we can do at that point. So I just want to make that clear, but doesn't mean that we can't be so excited that Daniel is back. We are Daniel
We're so
fans.
excited. I think it's just like the matter of how it went down.
Yeah.
How do you think it went down?
Okay. So we don't know exactly what happened, right? Like this just happened.
Maybe we'll find out on Drive to Survive.
Oh my God. Drive to Survive is going to be insane.
So good.
I can bet money that the opening episode is going to be Daniel
Ricciardo.
Back like I never left.
Yes, I'm back.
Back like a boomerang, baby. Yes, so we were talking amongst ourselves and we were trying to figure out, what went down when Daniel was removed, fired, let go from McLaren. Like we started to get some insight and we started to get a timeline. Here with Nick, it just seems like it was very sudden, and this is not confirmed, but what has been coming out recently is that this weekend Daniel was doing some tire testing in Silverstone, and Christian and Helmet, after seeing how amazing Daniel did in the Red Bull and his times, they decided to let go of Nick and effective immediately put Daniel in that seat.
Just from practice laps.
So I do believe that Helmet has already for the past month, 2 weeks, been going on podcasts and treating Nick horrible, just saying that, that Christian was right, that this wasn't the best choice for a driver for him, that they're not happy with his performance. So even though it was in the talks, I don't think that they had really seriously considered who would be replacing him, because who would replace him? Liam Lawson, who's like in his own championship competing right now. So I don't know. What do you think happened?
I mean, since that's the only theory out there, like the only rumor, I feel like it's kind of possible that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Usually when these things happen, they're pretty accurate.
Yeah, the rumors and
when they come out, they're pretty accurate. Like the only person who would have taken the seat was Daniel because of the relation with Red Bull, I feel. And Darlene and I were talking earlier, and she made a good point that AlphaTauri is rebranding, and maybe this is like a part of this larger project of using Daniel with that. I mean, he literally branded F1 and like expanded it in the US. So they might be using him for the same purpose. I do think it's kind of unfortunate though, because like their car is not good. So it's like, I'm interested to see like how well does he really do, But I am happy that he and Yuki are like teammates, because I feel like we're going to get good content there.
We're going to get amazing content. And Yuki's current performance coach is Michael Italiano, who is Daniel's best friend and was Danny's performance coach for 5 years.
Yeah.
I posted this on TikTok and it got a lot of traction. Supposedly, Michael is staying with Yuki and Daniel's going to have his own performance coach. People were saying it's going to be Nick's performance coach because he's hired by the team, but I don't think that's the case. Daniel's very particular and he's going to want who he wants.
Yeah. And either way, like I feel like he would just like see through the year with Yuki.
Yeah.
And then switch over maybe. I don't know like what those look like, those contracts.
I feel like Daniel always had plans to return to the grid in 2024. That was his goal. So Michael Italiano was on loan from Daniel to Yuki. Okay, wait, Adriana doesn't know this. This is what I think went down with Daniel. Okay, so what do we know? We know Daniel didn't want to be in Williams or Haas because they weren't a top tier team. They
also can't afford him.
Yes. So, which I don't think Daniel needs the money. He got paid out by McLaren, but he didn't want to be in one of those cars. So why would Daniel now take the Alpha Tauri seat when it is the worst car on the grid? I was a little bit scared when I first heard Daniel was coming back to Alpha Tauri because I think he needed a confidence boost, which he's not going to get that in that Alpha Tauri.
Yeah.
So I think that he got back in the Red Bull car. He kind of proved himself, but like a tire test isn't like a race. But, you know, he kind of said, look, this is what I can do. You know, there was all these talks, all these rumors. And I think that because AlphaTauri is going to be rebranded to basically like a junior Red Bull team that's just like as good, Christian told him, do this for us and you have the seat next year. So I think that it's like basically they're going to use Daniel for marketing. I mean, they probably see it as it can get worse than Nick. Daniel's experience, he has a fan base. He's going to start to bring fans and sponsors into this AlphaTauri team as it gets rebranded to a new name. Maybe it goes back to being Toro Rosso, which Daniel did race for. But that's why Christian Horner's Instagram post said Daniel is on loan to AlphaTauri from us.
Interesting theory. You
So
really thought about that one.
Well, I had to see the bright side because I was really nervous that Daniel was going to the worst team on the grid.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's been constant rumors that Checo's not safe.
I mean, he hasn't made it to Q3 for what, 5 races now? In a rocket ship. How did he make it to Q3?
He's just clearly not even, like, you would think in the car that they're in, he would be competing with Max for the title, and he's not competing with Max. I think he might still be, like, second in the championship, right? But, like, the last few races, he has not been there.
Mm-mm.
So, I don't know. And we all know that contracts mean nothing. So, he could be out at the end of the year. And they keep saying, like, there's no one who's going to replace Checo. Like, there's no one in the next year who's going to replace Checo. And
Lies.
like, you guys lie.
Yeah. When is Checo's contract up at the end of 2024?
I believe so.
I'm sure there's a clause in that contract that says if you're not making
2024, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure that contract is like if you're not making it into Q3, your contract's not valid. And, you know, Checo wasn't making it into Q3, but he was still having good race performance. Now he's not having that good of a race performance either.
Yeah, I think he, like, within the next few races has to do something to prove. He needs to win a race or something.
Win a race, that's going to be a little tough.
He was doing it at the beginning of the season.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, have any teams had a 2-3 other than Red Bull? Like a one.
I think Mercedes did once.
Right, that's what I was thinking, that they had a 1 and a 2-3 with George 2 and Lewis 3.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been like Max domination. Like he's always on the podium, essentially. Has he been on the podium every race?
Yeah. Every race. Yeah.
Every single race? Yeah,
because he's won every race except one race, and in that race he came in at P2.
Really?
That's why, That's why it's the Max-plaining podcast. And the one he didn't win.
Checo won.
Yeah, what was the race?
Was it Miami?
No, it was just Saudi Arabia. Oh, Checo's won 2 races?
We lied.
Checo has won in Saudi Arabia, and he has won Baku. Oh, because he's the street king. Duh.
Other than that, there's been no other team. And it was in Spain where it was Hamilton, then Russell. Max has been on the podium for every race this season. Every single race, he's on the podium.
That's crazy. But we are seeing the teams catch up to Red Bull. I think it's crazy that McLaren with them. So for most races, there's been a big time gap between P1 and P2, like seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. I think they brought it really close down to 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. I think that does have to do with the timing of the pit stop. I mean, the safety car as well.
Okay, silly season is in full swing.
Kicking off with this Daniel
Dan-
switch.
Daniel is kicking it off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're gonna start seeing now on social media. There's one race before, one or two races. There's Hungary and Spa before the summer break, and the summer break teams are not allowed to work on the cars. There's obviously no races, but contracts are in motion. Lots of talk. So for the contracts that are ending in 2023 are Lewis Hamilton has his contract ends, Logan Sargent, Alex Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Kevin Magnussen, and Yuki Tsunoda. All these contracts end in 2023. So either they're renewing their seats, they're not going to be in Formula One anymore, or they're going to move to a different team.
Or someone new will join.
Yeah. I don't know if new people will be joining, but the biggest key player here is Lewis Hamilton. So I've already started to see the rumors that, Lewis hasn't signed with Mercedes because he's not completely happy. And it looks like the only other possible home for him is Ferrari. So who does that leave out? Carlos or Charles?
I don't want to talk about it.
We need to talk about it.
The logical side of me thinks it's Carlos because Leclerc has
contract till 2026.
He has the longer contract. He has the longer tenure on the team. He's well liked by the manager or the team principal.
And he himself has special ties to Ferrari.
Yes. Now, do I think Charles is going to stay with Ferrari forever? No. Logically, I think Carlos would lose his seat. I don't know where Carlos would go. But if it were Charles, I think they would do a switch.
I also think that we would all be very shocked to actually see it be Charles who would be leaving Ferrari, and it would be Lewis coming in.
You think so? You think it would be Charles?
Yeah, and I think that Charles would be open to going to Aston Martin, or maybe Lewis and Charles just flip it around. One thing I will say, I do not see Carlos racing for Mercedes at all.
No, I don't either.
But I do.
And the thing is,
Charles.
I can't see Carlos racing for any other team.
Other than McLaren.
I
see him going back to McLaren, but Lando would only go to Red Bull, or maybe, actually, I don't know. I think Lando's going to be a hot commotion. He's contracted to the end of 2025.
Yeah, I think none of the drivers on the grid would be fully happy being second to Max. So I feel like the Red Bull seat would go to Daniel if Checo's out. Yeah, if Checo's out. And I think it would stay that way for a while until maybe Daniel is no longer in the sport.
Or Max may retire. I think we're going to be surprised to see that happen.
Maybe.
But it all hangs on Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I think Lewis is going to be the one to set the tone for silly season.
You guys, silly season is the most
It's the best part. It's the best part. You can't even imagine. You
I
can't
have goosebumps
predict
right now.
anything. You can't.
I'm actually predicting that we're gonna see a seat swap. We're gonna see something of the likes of Lewis and Charles being swapped.
Right.
Yeah. That's my prediction.
Well, I don't think Logan will stay. So that leaves a Williams seat. I think Alex will either renew with Williams or he will get a better seat somewhere, which I just don't know where.
Gasly has a contract, but I'm predicting that Alex will end up going to Alpine because the Alpine CEO at the beginning of the season, he was not too happy with Gasly or Ocon. I would be very sad to see Gasly go, but he is a troublemaker. I don't personally think that, but that's how he's portrayed, as a bad boy.
I think Gasly is not going to remain in F1 for
that long.
Many more years.
I agree.
He's kind of at that age where he kind of gets shafted, like newer talent comes in. And I think he's gotten like so many chances. So many chances. He had the Red Bull chance. Before that, he was in Alpha Tauri, then went back to Alpha Tauri. Now he's in Alpine, still not doing great. He's done like decent. Like I can't say
He's a
like
race
nothing
winner.
stand out, you know?
Yeah. I love him though. He's one of my faves.
Same.
So,
I'd be sad to see him leave.
And my other prediction for Alex is that he would go back into a Red Bull team, like that possible newer, upgraded, better AlphaTauri / Toro Rosso situation that we're going to see for 2024.
Which means if that were the case, maybe Yuki's without a seat.
You know, they were saying how Yuki's doing so good, and by they I mean like Christian and Helmet. Like they say they were content with Yuki, but I don't see the performance. He doesn't.
Yeah, I think like they know the car they have, and he's just like so outperforming Nick, or was outperforming Nick.
I don't even think that's the case. He hasn't really finished in the points much. He was getting what, like 12th place. He has like 2 points.
Personally, though, like Alfa Romeo's pretty bad. Like I feel like I forget about them sometimes, which is sad because I love Bottas. Of Zhou is another empty seat. For some reason, I feel like if Carlos did leave Ferrari, he would go to Alfa Romeo, and it would just be like the most depressing thing to watch. I just know, like that's what happened to both us. Like it's just so depressing.
Well, they're gonna be Audi. Got to pull through
in a couple of years, though.
1 more year,
and they'll be new to F1. Like we can't predict that their first season they're gonna be amazing.
But it's Audi. I am personally an Audi girl, so I'm so excited. You used to
have an Audi, didn't you?
I used to have an Audi. So I'm so excited for this. McLaren will always be my number one, and you guys can see I've stuck through the good and the bad times, but I could just see the Audi logo and the merch and like cool vibes.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Predicting Sebastian Vettel as a team principal, manifest that.
Yeah, so I don't know, who else do you think Zhou would get renewed?
I don't know, honestly. I've been not keeping up with Alfa Romeo that much. I don't know what the ties to sponsors are there. He hasn't been horrible for a rookie, so maybe he gets 1 more year in F1.
Maybe 1 more year.
His 3rd year. I just had a flashback to his crash in Silverstone.
Well, the one that interests me the most after Lewis Hamilton is Kevin Magnussen, because of his history with the team, how much he's loved by Gunther. But I do think Hülkenberg is like dominating compared to Kevin.
I don't see Kevin Magnussen in any other team other than Haas.
Same.
Honestly, I don't know if he would even want to be in another team. Like he's gonna have another baby. He might enjoy that family time. So for him, it's probably like Haas or nothing.
Yeah.
I love how we just make these things up.
It could be. I feel like if he lost the Haas seat, he wouldn't remain in F1, but then like who would get the Haas seat?
Somebody new.
Someone new.
Someone affordable.
Can you imagine those conversations between Jean and Gunther?
No, those I cannot.
Like Gunther would probably be defending Kevin till the end of time.
Jean.
Yeah, like Jean. But like Kevin has this long standing. He gets along with the guys in the garage. He would say that.
He would literally say that.
He'll probably bring back when he made pole last year. Don't you remember that feeling, Jean?
Hilarious. Okay.
So we'll see. There's so much that's to come this summer, so we'll keep you posted.
I don't know if my mind can process that Daniel Ricciardo will be participating in quali, will be participating in the race next weekend. He gets to race in Austin. Yeehaw, Cowboy Danny.
And in Vegas.
He gets to go down the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Okay, now I really want to go to Vegas.
Yes.
We need to make this happen. Vegas, if you want our talent on the strip, we are available.
We are available. Even better than Martin.
Oh, yeah. We'll give Martin a run for his money. We would get that Cara Delevingne interview. You know, as a matter of fact, let's invite her on the podcast, and if she says yes,
we need her to like tell her side of the story. She needs to clear the air.
girly, please come onto our podcast and tell us how much you love F1. I think that was what was left for interpretation, that she doesn't even know F1, so she didn't want to be part of the interview, but we don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know.
She might be a mega fan.
And she just looks like a snobby celebrity who didn't want to be interviewed, but I feel bad.
Yeah, she's usually like such a fun time.
Yeah. Did you see Florence? She has her look, and she looked just like Pink.
She was inspired by Pink. When I saw Florence on there, Martin asked her like, "Oh, who are you supporting?" And she's like, "Oh, we love Lewis." But then I saw her in the McLaren garage, so I was confused. But then I saw she was waving the flag, so she was probably in everybody's garage.
She was everywhere. They kept showing her at like different angles in different places.
Is she British?
Yes, she's British. To come to an end, we know now that something exciting does come from, another exciting thing comes from this Daniel Ricciardo reintroduction into F1, and that's he will now be back in the F1 intro, which is my favorite thing of the race.
Adriana, is that me with the boombox and the F1 intro?
Yes. That's me. Or the Napoleon Dynamite one.
Which one is that one?
That's where he's dancing.
Oh, yeah, wiggly. Yes, so Daniel's probably like doing so much commercial shooting and whatnot. They have to get him into that F1 intro, but they can't reshoot the whole intro, so they'll just have to like...
Yeah, they'll just cut out Nick and then enter him. He's going to be a little busy this weekend, probably doing all these things. Probably taking all his photos with them. So I'll never forget when they like literally just wanted to edit Pierre's face.
I was about to bring that up. I was about to bring that up.
But they can't do that because Nick is so short. Yeah. I'm really excited for the content that we'll get with Daniel and Yuki.
I mean, we've already gotten some content from them. Daniel throwing Yuki into the water.
I think that's when Yuki like approached him saying like, "Hey, I'm going to ask Mike to be like my coach."
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
You think like, can I steer rich man?
Basically.
I'm going to do it either way.
That has to be the moment it happened.
So exciting. You know, I always thought Sebastian Vettel wasn't actually in the intro last year. He looked so like CGI.
He definitely looked different. But Sebastian, like, his look just really changed last year. Like with the beard and the hair.
Yeah. He was also at Silverstone. He was driving Ayrton Senna's car, his McLaren.
Impressive.
And when I saw Sebastian Vettel in the Red Bull garage with Daniel Ricciardo, my wheels were spinning. I was like, you know, Red Bull probably wants to give Aston Martin and Alonso a run for their money. What if they're bringing Vettel back?
I would love it, like in some kind of capacity, not as a driver. Like I feel like he would be a great team principal or
for Audi.
Yeah, or I don't know. Maybe he'll take over Alpha Tauri because of his ties with Red Bull.
No, the team principal was already announced.
Early announced, right? But I do think like he did when he retired was like, I want to spend my time with my family. And like that's just as time consuming. So
yeah. I just wish I would have been Formula One fan during the Vettel era. Ferrari sporting director Lauren Mix will replace Frank Tost as boss of Alpha Tauri Formula One team after the 2023 season. I needed a refresher. Well, predictions for Hungary.
Max win. Maybe a McLaren. And always I hope for a Ferrari.
I think it's going to be Max winning, Aston Martin in P2, probably Alonso. And I think that we're going to get Lando again on the podium in P3. I'll get ahead of myself. I think it'll be Spa, the track that actually suits McLaren, so we'll see.
I know. Spa stresses me out.
I'm going to be saying all my Hail Marys.
Spa stresses me out.
Me too. My heart is going a little
What a way to go into the summer season, though. I mean, like the summer break.
Okay, well, just stick around for our Hungry predictions. We do good with predictions.
You think?
I think so.
I think it's pretty easy with Max winning.
That's all we have.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the silly season. Well, as always, we are now on YouTube. So if you want to check out the full video, you can head to our YouTube channel. please rate our podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, and join our Discord and join us over on Instagram and TikTok for some funny memes.
Bye.
Bye.